Hello, everyone. Evening to us all. Happy New Year yet again. It's the third time I'm saying Happy New Year, but if we really want the year to be happy, we've got to be intentional about making it happy. So I have no regrets saying Happy New Year once again. This is the AFCON Football Show, the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association. This association, let me tell you about it. It's an association that has been created to give credibility and identity and respect to high level scouting and coaching in Africa by Africans. What we mean by this, we're intentional. We want to make football Africanized, African football to be Africanized by everyone who cares to see that we have an intent to make African football big through our own contributions, through our own members. We are a 600 strong membership. If you want to join AFCON, this body that gives identity, credibility, and respect to high-level scouting and coaching in Africa by Africans, to join us, all you need to do is send your details, your name, your number, and your date of birth to join@afcon.com. Join@afcon.com. And we will look at your application, and I believe we would admit you if you're an aspiring coach. To know more about us, you can also follow us on our social media handle on Twitter and Instagram @AFCON. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram @AFCON, or subscribe. No, not or. And in addition to, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is AFCON AFC TV. We are intentional about this. We want to raise the bar and we want to change the narrative of coaching in Africa by Africa. Now we're fed up with what's going on in the world outside. We see big money moves being made every time. We see coaches being paraded all over the place and not enough of what in Africans that is taking place around the world. And therefore, this is our time. This is the time for us to actually go for it. And we want to go for it in a big way. Today, like I have said, we started out this show a few months ago, talking about Africa in the World Cup. That's how we started. We started with the performance of Africa in the World Cup. A lot of people have very important things to say about it, but the truth of the matter is that how well did Africa perform? One of my guests today will feel that Africa performed wonderfully because I don't think he has recovered yet from the hangover of the celebration of what Africa did. But on a general note, how did Africa perform? We've done that. We've gone through it all the time over the last few shows. And now we want to go into educating ourselves, educating African coaches, educating African scouts, and educating ourselves as to the tactics of the game, the strategies we employ, talent identification, in order to raise the bar, in order to change the narrative of scouting and coaching in Africa. That's why we're here, and that's why it's important for you to like us, like this video, comment, let's see what you think about it, and don't forget, subscribe to the video. Subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit the notification button, which alerts you when we're coming back again, because we will be back. We're not going anywhere very soon. I am joined today by a wide variety of people. They're all coaches in their own right, scouts and coaches and managers, and members of AFCON as well. They are members of AFCON. We are intentional. We want our members to be the pilots and pioneers on these our shows, so that we exchange our ideas and our thoughts on the things that we think will make Africa better. Farid Fakir, Farid from Morocco. After the celebration of Morocco getting to the semi-final of the World Cup, we have not seen you here for some time. Happy New Year to you, Farid. How are you?
Yes, hello everybody. So happy New Year to you, to everybody, to all African coaches, scouts, and all people involved in football. So it was nice to meet you, and effectively, we were still celebrating after the World Cup, and things are moving also too fast here in Morocco because there's a big involvement of people in football. Everybody was like to play football, but now they want to higher the level. They want to make it more professional because they saw that it's possible. So every club, every academy, every training center, they are all raising their level up. So that's really nice for Morocco and for Africa. Nice to meet you,
Brilliant.
everybody.
Excellent. And Farid, before I before I do the rest of the introduction, I see that Morocco is always seem to be in the headlines and the top news of African football. If you're not playing football well, you're boycotting tournaments. What happened
Yes,
with Morocco in Chad?
yes. In fact, it's more a political decision. We all know that there is some misunderstanding between Algeria and Morocco. This is all about politics and all about Sahara. And you know that now politics is also involved in football. So this is not good for football, not good for youth, for young people. They were preparing the event for so many years, so many months, and at the end they could not participate and they could not defend their title. So, and unfortunately, this is the situation. We don't like this kind of situation because this is not the way football might be, but this is the situation of today. So it's bigger than our expectation. It's more political. Here in Morocco, people are not really happy with that. And but at the same time, we are still working because we would like that in February we get the organization of the next CAN in 2025. And I'm sure also that Morocco is also preparing to get the World Cup in 2030.
Well, I hope that the politics will take a back step. You can see that from the World Cup that we had in Qatar a couple of
Yeah.
months ago, most of the countries that came with a political message did not do well.
Yes.
Football won, football won, and the
Yes.
political messages did not. And
Yes.
that's how it is. Now, I'm also joined by a new entrant into our show. Um, in many ways. We always like to embrace diversity, inclusivity. We also like to embrace new people to come onto our show and new ideas and new perspectives. In the year where we're seeking equality between the male and the female game, at least to close the gap, in a year which is 2023, which is the year of the FIFA Women's World Cup, it's very important to bring our women into the game. Not because we want to make headlines, but because that's what they deserve. When you look at what they have done in the field of play and how big they have become in our game, it is important. Women's football is also very important. Um, Siambua Kibwe from Kenya. I hope I pronounced the name right.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Siambua, it's a pleasure to have you here with us from Kenya.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I have also my program director, Niran, as usual. Nice to see you. Okay, so we're going to get down to business very quickly, because you see the time flies very fast, usually. Last week, we talked about the defensive side of the game of football, where we talked about back four versus back three. And we had a very healthy debate. Today, it's not so much as a debate as talent, in terms of identifying talent, in terms of identifying strategies with which to play the game. We talk about combination play, combination, building partnerships and building combinations within the team in order to get the best results. Sometimes you look at players, you look at various players, you look at a great team, and sometimes you see that great team with fantastic players, world-class players in their individual rights. But because they don't form the right kind of partnership, they don't win the games. They don't win tournaments. Tactical combinations in football. What can you tell me about it, Farid?
Yes, before going into details of tactical, I would suggest that a team is a combination of players with a coach, and they might live in the field, in the pitch, like they are family. I mean, everybody needs to make sacrifice for his partner. This is the basic of football. If there's not this kind of mentality, whatever the name you can have on your team, you will never win. We can take some big players like Neymar, for example. When Neymar is doing the job of coming back to the middle to help the midfielder, so then the team is really strong and really hard to beat. But when Neymar is doing his Neymar way of life, I mean, playing just in the front and trying to make some dribble, then the team is not performing. So before that is all about how we create a team and mentality, sacrifice, family, and organization. This is the first thing. And then for sure, if there's no tactic, you can have on the paper 11 big name, but if you don't have tactics on how each name can do it, it makes no sense. You can have on the same team top world class player, but if you don't have a combination, a tactic, you cannot do nothing. Because I can take from the street, if you take the best, because on the street they might be players stronger than the one playing on the pitch. But if these players they don't have combination, they don't have skills, tactics, intelligence of playing, they will never succeed.
Hmm, thank you. Niran, normally when you do your scouting, sometimes when you watch players, Farid has touched on it about off the pitch as well. You look at players sometimes and you feel that there is a natural synergy between them. When they're playing on one side of the pitch, you feel that if you pair them, if you partner them together, like this one, like this right back, I don't know if you can see me, and this guy on the right side of midfield, if you partner with the defensive midfield or whatever, there's a good triangle that is formed between them, and they can get out of a press a lot easier because obviously, you have seen within them that there is a natural synergy between them, that they work well together. Sometimes it is between these three, the number 10 and the two strikers. And if there's a natural synergy between them, the 10 and the two strikers, then of course the game is very effective and they score goals easily. If there's a missing link here, it would almost be like this guy is not there at all. If there's a missing link, because there's no partnership, because the combination is not right. And sometimes it works on the pitch, sometimes you discover it, from the dressing room, from the dressing area, because you discover, you find it within them that you can see a synergy between these three players or these two players, and you can use it to the best advantage of the team. Do you agree with me? Niran?
Very, 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 very. Yeah. I agree with you. I think when the game is playing all over the field, you can find combinations in separate scenarios. Even just the way you said it, between the two strikers and the number 10, um, or even in some cases, you see where even two players on opposite sides, they actually play in synergy to each other. You get, maybe the manager will set the full back on the right, when that guy is forward, you stay back. So that's a combination. You have to be able to know each other for that synergy to be there. So you have that idea that, okay, he's not going to go forward now, even though he's playing on the left back and I'm right back. I know when he's not going to go forward, and I go forward. He knows when I'm not going to go forward, and he goes forward. So all those things is happening everywhere on the pitch these days. So It's about creating that web of even for me, almost virtually all the 11 players, they have to have they have to follow in line in the manager's tactical plan, the way the manager wants to play, and they also have to complement each other within that system on the football field. So I think the whole game is made up of this. It's technical combinations in football and all those on-field partnerships. Yeah, managers are very they always look for ways to create those things, to create overloads on one side and to prevent to maybe if they want to have an idea against a particular footballer. I once watched Coach's Voice, Jose Mourinho, talking on Coach's Voice, and he spoke about how his Inter team beating Barcelona in 2010, and he spoke about how there was so much focus on Messi, how brought the movement of the left back and the defensive midfielder on the left hand side, sorry, on the left hand side, were had to work together Even the winger as well. I think that was it was Eto had to work together to prevent Messi from having any success on the ball, so that when he gets the ball, he's immediately surrounded by people. So those are the things that it's very, very important. This discussion that we have today.
Absolutely. And you know that when you're looking at it at the high level, at the top elite level of football, it's easy to understand. Like you've said, I'll illustrate it a little bit here. This is Messi, and this is the left back, this is the left wing, and this is the left-sided defensive midfield. Anytime Messi gets the ball, he's choked, and it makes it very hard for him to operate. It makes it hard for him to get out. But Siambwa, I'm gonna come out and ask you now, because you also deal with young ones. When
Yes, I do.
it's great when it's at the high level, but sometimes you need to actually start them from a very young age, from very, very young age, to spot the fact that, okay, these guys will work together to stop this guy. Or these two guys, they don't get on very well together. They don't connect in terms of football, and therefore they are the wrong pair that can corner this guy. How do you spot that in the small level, in the youth level football?
To start with, when it comes to football training, it can start from as early as 4 years in terms of professional training. This is where children are actually put in a professional setup to start training towards being professionals in the future. At the end of the day, football is a career and it can be started at any level. When we're looking at the synergy when it comes to kids playing, it's exactly the same as the senior teams. All listening to the coaches, because one thing I've learned is kids watch as much videos as possible in terms of watching their favorite teams play. The only thing is we don't see this knowledge that they have when they are watching videos and games being translated to the field. And I think that is where there's a bit of a disconnect, because you can see they have the knowledge, you can see they have the passion, but now it's for the coach to be able to bring what they have on ground. Because if there is no connect on the ground, if everybody is playing, as we say, as individuals, then you still do not have a team and you're not creating a team. We need to be able to bring in those 11 players to play as one. It is all about thinking together, knowing where your player is, how they're playing, your weaknesses, your strengths as a team, and being able to listen to your coach when they're trading.
Brilliant, excellent. So, and how hard is that in Africa of today, in our African youth of today? Siombo, still back to you, to actually be able to impart that into the mindset of the young player. Because you see, the young player, when I was growing up, and mine is a bit different, when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was play the game. Somebody says to me, wait, you're a striker, because I was a big lump. I was quite tall. I am quite tall. I'm shrinking a bit now. But here's you're number 9. But you know what? You need to work backwards. like you see some of our strikers do sometimes, and come and collect the ball and join in play with guys. And I'm thinking, no, I'm a striker. I just want to be here. They can do whatever they want. Just give me crosses and let me deal with it here. Now, that was when I was younger. Now, football has developed from there. How do you
Yes, it
put
is.
that into the minds of our young players of today? That, right from a young age, they need to develop the mindset of creating partnerships and creating combinations in today's football.
Okay, so I'm going to speak from a level of an intermediary, someone who actually connects players to various parts of the world. First of all, we are not looking at a player who's just a striker. We have too many of those. You have to be an all round player. Anywhere a coach puts you, you need to be able to perform. Whether it's striker, whether it's forward, where it's back, it doesn't matter what position, you need to be an all round player. And an all round player is someone who is just leave me at striker and I'm going to no. It is if Messi is told to play this time round forward, he's going to play it. If he's told to play backwards or center, it doesn't matter, he's going to play it. And that is what we seem to be not seeing much when it comes to the younger players. They have a tendency of adopting their favorite player in that position and sticking to it. We have a lot of players who call themselves CR7 and will never change that CR7. But for you to be able to develop to being a great player in the future, it means you have to play every single position and be good at playing every single position. You need to be able to also play with your right leg and your left leg combined to be able to be one of the best in the industry. And so for young players, they need to understand that for you to be the best or to be able to get to where you want to be, where your model is in terms of your favorite football player, you have to be all round.
Excellent. Farid, you are in the business of creating. I remember that you demonstrated to me, and we're waiting patiently for the rollout of your fantastic network, Kickoff Me, which is that great software, analytical software that we believe that we can use in the whole of clubs in Africa. Now, when you look at the statistics that you put together on the game of football amongst our young and even elite players, how important have you found the fact that the the analytics that you do, the indices that you get from each player's performance sometimes can be dependent on the partners around them and how they work together?
Yes, yes, that's correct. In fact, today by analyzing the statistic, we explain also to the young players that data is really important. I take the example of a striker, a young striker that I know that, as Siyumba said, he want to strike and only scoring. But we explained to him that before he want to strike, he need to make the job to help his midfield to stop the ball going going in the back. So his job also as a striker changed. He was not just waiting for the ball to kick. He's now also doing the job by running in his part of the field to avoid that the ball is going outside him. So I think at 11, 12 years old, young people can understand this. If it has been well taught, they can understand that football is not about having the ball and scoring. Is also 95% of the time with when I don't have the ball, what should I do? So I should run, I should make pressure, I should occupy a territory, I should help my colleague to avoid that there will be more than us. So all these data, we are trying to analyze it and to explain it. The more difficult is to make it used and to make it applied by the young players. So I saw some teams and some elite teams in Morocco. What they are doing is that during the training, one day a week, they are not making games. They are just playing toro. I mean, they are just making a triangle or a circle, and players has to give pass to his colleague. So it develops the control of the ball. It develops the capacity, the anticipation, right and left foot. So it develops a lot of skills that they can use in a small scope in the field. So that's why teaching the role of everybody is the one point. Make it used during the training, and then observating in a game and control. That's the key to make it happen with the young players. Otherwise, they don't understand their role. And in Africa, we are all striker by nature. So then it's really important to spend time to explain to each player what is his role.
Very good. And of course, as we always say, and as Niran, I'm coming back to you because you've mentioned something very important there about partnership, not necessarily being on the same side of the field, but when you look at the Liverpool example, sometimes you see Trent Alexander-Arnold is here, and when they're bombing forward, when he goes up here, he sees Robertson, who is his left back, and he swings the cross ball across to him, and it's absolutely inch perfect because they have developed a synergy between themselves. They have decided that they can work together in switching play and making the pitch very wide. They can go from side to side and find each other. You agree with me, Niran? Mute. You're mute.
Sorry. Of course, as I put it earlier, that's very correct. So in Liverpool's case, is as you said, the fullbacks are the ones that give them their width that they use to spread the defense, and the idea is that they have to both be forward together. I have an example here which we can probably take a look at from Liverpool. Just give me a second. Is this? So yeah, so that's what we're talking about. You can see that, as you said, you can see Trent is high up on the right hand side there, and Robertson high up on the left. So that is a partnership there because the coach has obviously instructed that he wants them to go forward together, and the reason why they are doing that is to create width because Liverpool's wingers are more, they play more on the inside, in between the centre back and the fullback. That's where Mane wants to play. That's where Salah wants to play. So they come in narrow, and then also back provide the width. So in here we can see so many combinations in this image here. Even so as I said, when Robertson come forward, Mane goes inside. So that's a combination as well. When Trent goes forward as well, you can see that Salah has come inside, and so that's it. And there are cases where you see Firmino dropping deep, and then Liverpool have something. So Firmino dropping deep, and then Salah and Mane running behind him. So that's exactly the kind of combinations that's here all over the pitch. Combinations all over the pitch that we're talking about.
Very good. Just to very quickly remind us that we're watching the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association's TV show on football tactics in Africa. The AFSCON, the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association, is an association set up to give credibility and identity and respect to the job of high-level scouting and coaching in Africa by Africans. If you're an aspiring coach, an aspiring scout, and you want to join us, very simple, send your details to join@afscon.com. Join@afscon.com, and we will admit you, and we will find a role for you in the association. We'll create opportunities for everybody. We've got coaching courses, we've got coaching programs, we've got certification programs coming up in the course of the year that you will be interested in. Very quickly, I digress. It will be of interest for you to know that I just come back from a university in Luxembourg called Lunex University, where they're looking to partner with us in producing the next generation of coaches that have sports management, football management, sports management in the base of their minds at the same time as coaches, because what we have these days are just coaches, people who played the game before and automatically went into coaching. But we do want to combine education with it to actually build our people, build our members, build the people of Africa to be more than they actually are at the moment. There will be a course in Luxembourg. There will be a course in the United Kingdom very, very shortly, because we are affiliated with the League Managers Association, who have said they will support our certification program. And we will have one very close to Siambua's neck of the woods in Kigali very soon, in the next couple of months, which is open to all members. I'm sure that Niran and the rest of the team inside will share these details as we go along. Now we come back to building these on-field partnerships and how it can break down sometimes. I remember some many years ago when I was still covering the game as a journalist, and I watched a Nigeria team playing in the World Cup, or was it in the Africa Cup? And we had Nigeria's striker. I'm not going to mention names, but a Nigeria striker who was there at the top of the as a number 9, who refused or was denied service. Was denied service so much so that it made him look isolated. Here he was surrounded by defenders, and even the boys who played with him in red were not giving him passes. And for whatever reason, and I don't know why, it showed. And what it showed eventually was that it showed like he was not good enough. Now here's a player who played in the Premier League, who scored goals in the Premier League regularly. But when he came to the Nigerian team, because he was denied service, because he did not have the tactical combination encouragement that he needed in order for him to flourish, it didn't work out. Now, in today's world, Farid, we don't have that anymore. You have to be an all-round player, right?
Yes, yes, that's the reality. And I come back to what I say, if you don't have good external relation with your partner, it will be hard on the pitch. So this is all about human relation, and a player that is just in the front waiting for the ball will never succeed. In the new area of football, the player might be more complete, let's say. He will need to have more skills and not just only having a good striking. And honestly, this is what I'm trying to teach to the young people. I mean, give a service to your partner, and he will give it back to you. But if you don't give service to your partner, for sure he will not give you service. So this is the basic of this new football.
Siamba, when we're doing talent ID, when we're working with young players and we're working with the youth, normally we emphasize on the importance of building relationships outside of the pitch, in the dressing room. You know, a social type of relationship between them, not because we want to force them to be friends, but because we want them to feel at ease with one another when they play in the same team. How do you go about that? And how do you arrest situations where it looks like it's not going to work out and you need to put some more work into it?
Okay, so I'll start with the coaching course will actually be in Turkey, not Kigali, but it's for the entire African unit. But also to answer your question, football starts from when the players get to the field. It doesn't start when they're on the pitch. This is from the moment they either leave the parents' cars or they enter the gate. It is the attitude that they have. We have seen very fantastic players, young players, but because they had a fight in the morning with their parents, it changed the entire dynamics of the game. But you realize that if he is so good with his teams, the team is actually able to encourage him and get him off that mindset of the fight that he had prior that will end up changing the game. You see, the relationship with players on the pitch on and off the pitch is one of the most important relationships that these players are ever going to have. This is how they learn each other. They understand each other's gameplay, each other's weaknesses and strengths. They know where they're going to cover up when they need to, or when they need to support, or when they know a player is good, but we only need to do basic support to each other on the pitch. It is the unspoken language that they have within themselves. And so at the end of the day, they actually have to have a level of friendship, a level of trust built in it. And this is also encouraged through the coaches and the team managers and everybody in between. We have a tendency, and especially in African teams, when I'm looking at players or when I'm recommending players, the first thing the coaches will do, the managers will do, will pick one or two players in the team and say, these are the best players, these are the best players. And that has a tendency of demoralizing all the other players because they're thinking, okay, so the focus is only on this two. And yet in reality, we know football is a game that can be trained. Skills can be trained. We can train even the poorest of players to be the best on the pitch. It's just about being able to let every player know on that pitch is that everybody is important. Now, let's work together to be able to make this team work for us.
Good. Okay, so having dealt with the social side of things, we want to talk to Niran about the technical side of things. You as a coach and a scout, you're in charge of a team, and you see that there is a natural synergy that can be created between two or three players that can work in tactical combination. They didn't see it, they haven't spotted it, but you have spotted it. You've spotted the fact that these two guys, you know what, they can work together. They don't look the same. I look at the Manchester City of today, and I'm wondering why and how Jack Grealish will work better with Erling Haaland than somebody else, but they work very well together. So when you spot what has not been spotted naturally, how can you build that relationship? How can you create that partnership and make a tactical combination and make it embed in their minds that this is what we need? We need you to actually be partners in progress as we go on to win this game. I can't hear you.
No, yeah, sorry. Most of the things that occur in a football match are the is a combination of the ideas of the coach, the ability of the player, and the characteristics of the player, the characteristics and the ability of the player. Understand? So those are the things that that will create combinations and make them work on the pitch. So, for example, um, um, if you play a player, a midfielder that just wants to be direct, that wants to run up into the box every time, it makes it difficult for you to play a typical kind of style, a system. Someone like maybe you had a Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard wants to run into the box, wants to tap in. It's not like Xabi or Iniesta, so it doesn't enable a tiki because he has certain qualities that don't. He's a fantastic player, nonetheless, but he doesn't have those qualities to enable him. So although you can build it in sessions, because a lot of things happen on the training ground that allows you to be able to build those. Like I already said earlier, that the session that I said they put them in a circle or a box, and you pass, you move, you pass. So those kind of things create passing combinations for sessions. So, but also you have to look at the quality of the player. For example, if I had Manchester United just bought Vegas, for example, bought Vegas, the tall, I think it's almost 198 centimeters tall, about 6'8" or 6'7". So he's a very tall guy. So now let's just imagine a scenario where Manchester United are not playing the ball long to him. You understand? You're not utilizing his qualities. So that the combination between him and what he does best isn't being utilized. So it's going to be very hard for him to combine with people the best way that he can, because you're not the team as a whole is not playing to his strength. So football is like a web, as I'm trying to say. So in a way, you have to first of all the team has to first of all play. That's why for example, sorry, let me go back to when I talk about managers acquiring players, buying players, you would see a manager like Pep Guardiola. He likes to buy the short, small, nifty players, technical players that can play the ball through corners and make quick movements, very sharp, instinctive in their movement and moving the ball around, trading passes. Under people that can play the ball under pressure. Most times, he goes to a new club, he sells the keeper and gets a new keeper. And that's what he did when he came to Man City initially. Joe Hart was a great keeper at Man City, but when he came to Man City, he said, "No, I don't want this guy. I want somebody who can pass the ball, who can put the ball on the ground, and who can make me great goals for me, even from the goalpost." So those are the kind of things that we're talking about. So you cannot just because that's what Pep likes to play, and those are the kind of players he buys. So when he buys those kind of players, when you buy De Bruyne and you buy Bernardo Silva and you buy Gundogan and you buy Grealish, these players naturally they would be able to work together. They'll be able to play in the way that he likes, take the system, but still be able to work together within that system that he likes to play. That's why some managers, like in those days, we know Big Sam for one thing. He likes to launch the ball. He launches the ball from the goalkeeper, and you see, because just aligning the goalkeeper for Bolton, then was very good in playing goal kicks straight to the striker. So when he left West Ham, when he left Bolton, he took him to West Ham and he bought a big striker. That's another combination. It's a combination of the field. When you buy a keeper that can play long passes, and then you put a striker that is very tall in front, and then you're telling them to kick for goalkeeper, anytime with a goal kick, launch it to that guy's head. So all over the page, you have combinations, but then you also have to, for me, it has to be within the ideology of the coach, within the philosophies of the coach, and also um, um, you work also in sessions to create those. For example, I'm sure Pep Guardiola, I've seen many Pep Guardiola sessions where he has different small-sided games that will enforce the players, even Mikel Arteta, that will force the players to play in a manner that they're probably going to replicate when it gets to the football pitch.
Farid, do we see enough of that in Africa? I know that you talked about Morocco and some clubs are doing it. Do we not need to see a lot more of these creative combinations being built up within our players in Africa so that when it happens, when national teams now start to have only 3-4 days together before matches, it becomes already embedded in their DNA that is what they need to be doing. Because sometimes we look at things, from the outside. When we meet up with our national team players, for example, we see that is missing. And when it's missing, it shows so much that it's not embedded in their system. We don't see enough of it in Africa, or do we? Do you disagree with me? How much of it do we need to take into the continent of Africa to show that it is important when we're doing tactical play, when our coaches are presenting pre-match strategies, that combinations are important?
Yes, I think we are not seeing it too much in Africa. I think, as Niran say, is all about philosophy of the coach. And if you talk about the coach, we need to talk about their education. As for now, they're still all over Morocco. There are still people training young people just because they know some skills on football. They are not educated on football. They were former players. I mean, in a really low level, maybe amateur player, but they decided to be coach because they are the one that has the most credibility in the district. So this is all about education. But we see in certain clubs in Morocco, when the trainers are educated, they got the license. They spend some weeks making some training sessions at a high level. Some of them they can travel to see what's happening outside in Europe, for example. We see that he comes with his philosophy, and this philosophy is being involved in Morocco. But to be honest, let's say that as per today, we are at 10% or maybe 20% of the clubs having this conscience and this kind of tactical philosophy, because they have been teach and they have been trained. So there is a huge gap. There is a lot of potential to develop around our countries, and you can see it with the national team. Huh? We can see that we are still playing with the old method of okay, send the back forward to the striker and pray so that he can score. So tactic is the key, and we are not yet reaching the level we should reach.
Shiomba, East Africa. East Africa is a part of the continent that is very dear to my heart. When I say that we're bringing a coaching program to Kigali, it's not the one you're talking about. It is
Oh,
one
okay.
that we are doing. AFCON will come to Kigali for a coaching program
Great.
for coaches, for our members from Rwanda, from our members for all over Africa. We'll come to Kigali and we will come and meet there and talk a lot more about the progress and development of the game in Africa. And we have chosen Kigali because we love Rwanda. Listen, in East African football, it looks like there is the talent, but how far behind would you say the coaching side is as far as football development is concerned? Because this is the part of the continent that still engages the most number of foreign intake of coaches, even in their local league. How far behind do you think they are in actually being able to go into the regions, into Kenya, into Tanzania, into Uganda, and bringing out players who can actually be encouraged to form the right combinations and the right partnerships in the game?
Uh, as much as I'm an East African and I really, really want to praise our people, when it comes to training, we're still very far behind, and that is unfortunate. And like my colleague from Morocco said, a lot of the coaches just decide, you know what, I used to play coaching in one of the county leagues. I did not make it, but the little knowledge that I got, I'll start a football team. And he hasn't gone through any training. He doesn't have any background on what actually coaching looks like other than being coached while he was playing. And this is the same knowledge he's going to pass on to the kids. The thing about coaching is it changes every minute. Coaching trainings change. You always have to keep up with your education. You always have to keep up with upgrading your skills. You always have to be online on various sites to be able to see what is new, what is coming in, what are the new changes. A lot of times when I'm looking at teams, even when I ask the coaches, okay, what's your training philosophy? What's your training style? Is there something that we can look into so that we can understand why the players are playing the way they are? The only answer you're going to get is, I coach the way I coach. And you see, that's not enough. If I'm able to, I need to be able to go to an international team and tell them, hey, I have this team. This is the coach. This is his philosophy. This is his training style. This is how the kids are being trained. Look at what is going on here. But if I do not get that, then I'm unable to even present anyone at all. And even when you're trying to correct and tell them, hey, listen, you actually need to be able to go to a coaching class, get a certain level of certification for you to be able to coach children in the right way. Right now, we are looking at a lot of trainings that are very on the pitch. Every player knows what to do on the pitch, but we are lacking on the intelligence side. We are lacking on the parts of being able to assess videos, being able to assess opposing teams, being able to see what the other team is doing, and being able to see how are we able to beat them by watching our opposition play, by watching their own teams play, and trying to understand, okay, this is where we went off, this is where we need to correct. There's still a lot that needs to be put into coaching, because coaching is everything. Coaches are the backbone of the teams, and this is where everything starts from. And so we are still lagging behind, but I know that for the rest of the world to be looking at Africa for football players, it means we are already doing something good. And I
Right.
apologize for my dog.
Yeah, I was beginning to think that he's actually the dog is probably applying to become a member of AFCON as well, to start coaching dogs. But
Yes, I'm having a feeling it's enjoying football as well.
Nilan, we always talk about, our favorites, our dream moments, and all that. When you look at tactical combinations in football, one of the highlights of tactical combinations, and the building of it, is this manager that I feel so jealous about because he's not come to coach Chelsea, and that is, of course, Pep Guardiola. You talked about his training philosophy. I watched him live in Barcelona many times when he was in Barcelona, where he would put teams together in very small spaces and tell them to pass to one another. And it works because when they come onto the pitch, no matter how tight the situation is, they come out of that corner and they come out with the ball. No matter how tight it is, they're all there together, all bunched together, and somehow they come out and they play out because they're used to passing in tight spaces, because he puts them there. It's almost like a prison. He puts them in prison and says, this is it. Make sure the ball doesn't get out of this ring and make sure you pass it out. And it works to a T. What's your favorite combination, tactical combination that you can think of in the elite game that you can tell your young ones to go and watch, to learn from?
Hmm.
Difficult one, huh?
That's a very tough question. I have to think. I have to think a lot.
I
I really
thought
don't. I
I
really,
thought
I
I'd be on
really,
the spot there.
yeah. It's a very tough one because I haven't really thought about it before. That was my favorite combination, but um the Leicester team that maybe won the 2016 Premier League. Uh, there was this style of play between let's the striker Jamie Vardy, the Japanese guy. I've forgotten his name.
Oh yeah,
Jamie Vardy.
I can't remember him now. I know
Yeah,
who you're
yeah,
talking about.
the Japanese guy, Jamie Vardy Mares. And the Japanese guy was a perfect foil for Yuri and Mares, where he would also defend as it was the fight. It was one who would be dropping deep, fighting with people up and down, and then a pass is thrown from Mares from deep, and then it's sorry, from by Mares from deep, and then Jamie Vardy scores. But I don't know if that's my favorite, but I have some others here that I like. Maybe I just talk about here. This is Antonio Conte's Inter Milan. As you can see here, is a back three. So they have the triangle in midfield. Actually, they played three central midfielders, but of course you will see Brozovic dropping deeper because maybe he's the better of the three defensively. And Barella was always going forward and coming back. And you can see that there's already in the position here, the midfield three have a combination there. And there's one that is not highlighted there, which is also a combination because you can see Barella. Barella is closer to the wide area than Ericsson is, which means they are trying to maybe create overloads on that side. Maybe a situation where they want to bring them to this side here, because even there's a triangle here between Perisic, who is the left wing back, Ericsson and Bastoni. That's the triangle there, and they might want to maybe drag them towards this way, and then switch the ball back to the other side. And they have also two strikers. These strikers as well. There's a triangle there. If you look at Martinez, Ericsson, and Perisic. That's also a triangle there where they can create those rotations and ball movements. So this is a very good one. I really liked Antonio Conte, and there's another one here. This one is Napoli. This is Napoli is this? I think this is Sarri.
Sorry,
Sarri's
Maurizio
Napoli.
Sorry.
Yeah. This is Sarri's Napoli. With Koulibaly, Abiol, and I think I spoke about this last week on last week's show where you have three center, the one of the fullback will go forward, and then and the back a back three, sort of a back four. So they actually play the back four, but Gulam, because the attack is coming from that left hand side now. So Gulam has gone forward, and you've seen Insigne going inside to vacate that space for Gulam to exploit. Because when Insigne makes that run, it's probably going to be followed by the defender on that side, and Gulam can have the space to go in through. Um, and this is a more recent one, the World Cup final where I just now took an early 2-0 lead. Um, although this picture doesn't really show what I'd like to explain, but you can see Messi there is supposed to be a winger. He's supposed to be a winger, but of course he talks in very very deep. He talks in inside, very very narrow, and occupies Tio Hernandez. And now you can see that the space has opened up for Molina. So there's a combination working there. And even the ball has dropped deep away to also take away another player just to leave that space for Molina. You can see that that area, there's a big space on that Argentina right hand side. A big space that could be exploited because Messi has gone inside, the ball has gone inside, and the French national team's defense had responded in that manner, which allowed Molina to have that space to receive that pass from Romero. So that's one is something that's happened all over the field between all the players. And I spoke about this one earlier. And also I have this one, which is here for the French team before they made the subs. You can see that in this team now, it's something similar to it's quite similar to the one we saw earlier for Napoli, where one of the fullback is way, way, way up the field. Mbappe has gone inside. So you can see that Argentine player is chasing Mbappe. Mbappe has taken that guy inside. So they've combined well there in terms of their movement now, not their pass, in terms of their movement to know what to do in that situation. And Upamecano, Varane, and Conde creates that back three situation there. And you can see that in this place, no, we talk about in Liverpool, how in Liverpool will use the Liverpool will use the two fullbacks to create their width. Width is very important in the game. Every team must have width because if you don't have width, you're going to be easy to defend against. So in Liverpool's case, they use the two fullbacks to create their width. I can see Robertson and Arnold up the field. So that's the combination between those two in the way they move around, in create those widths and everything. While here it's on one side is the winger Dembele, and on the other side is the fullback Hernandez. So it's a different. They're creating similar situations for different player positions, creating those situations. So Dembele creates width for the French on the right, and Hernandez does it for them on the left. So um, it just shows us how in football you can do the same thing, but you can just make different positions to do those jobs that a football coach wants to do. That's great.
Absolutely, well done. That's very incisive. Farid, you are coming up soon with your this software that you want clubs to. How far are you on it, and when do you think we can start to see it?
Yes. So the application is made to help young players to show their skills and share their videos through the application and be connected to the scouts, coaches, clubs, recruiters, etc. So we were having a huge intensity in the production of the application, and then during the World Cup, it has been stopped because everybody was involved in the World Cup. And now where we are, now we are in discussion with the top majors clubs in Morocco because we want to start it locally and test it locally and make the necessary change if necessary. So we are in relation with the top clubs in Morocco, as Wydad de Casablanca and the Raja de Casablanca, and also Academy Mohamed VI, so AMF. I was with there yesterday, and basically we will organize practice day I mean, young players who will be connected to the application. They will create their account. They will share video, and then they will be selected to participate to a one-day training session with the club. And during this one-day training session, they will be trained and they will be a participant of some game. Is like detection day, and out of this, so maybe there will be 500 young people, and out of this, maybe 5 or 10 young players will be selected for the second round. So I mean, we try to help the young players because now everybody has a smartphone, so we try to use it as a support for them, not just by watching videos in TikTok. And so we want to support them and to make it a use for them to share their videos and to be connected with the professional world of football. Because otherwise, there are some big talented players that are completely hidden from the market, let's say. So we want to give to everybody the same opportunity to be shown and to show their skills. So we are moving really good with the top clubs to organize this. And at the same time, because we want to make it really credible, at the same time, we are organizing a tournament between some French team, young people under 15, as Olympique Marseille, Le Havre, which is the second best training center in France, Nice and Nancy. So they will come to Morocco in April, and they will play against the top 3, 4 clubs in Morocco, as Raja, Wydad, and Academy. So we are also trying to mix, because what I try to do is also to show to the Moroccan teams that maybe they think after the World Cup that we are on the top, but maybe when they have some direct games against the top French league, maybe they will see, and the coaches will see, that there's still a gap, that talent is not the only key. That talent is good, but we need combination, we need tactic, we need training and education. So that's why I'm putting in the reality the Moroccan team to face the top level of French teams.
Excellent. And
Yes.
Siombwa, on a final note, because this is all we've got time for, um, where do you see women's football? Women's football, it's taken a turn for the up in many places, in many parts of the world. How are your expectations for the women of Africa going into the World Cup later this year? Talking about tactics, talking about being coached, talking about being able to adapt to the coaching skills and styles of our coaches and taking it to go and compete against the best in the world.
First, I am very excited about female football and how well we are actually doing and taking over the industry, because a lot of people who have actually watched the female football competitions as they're going, one thing they say is the ladies are very tactical, technical. They play the game. You know, you can see them thinking while they're playing the game. When it comes to Africa, we're still lagging behind, but we're getting there. You know, for a very long time, Africa was very, football was very male dominated, but we now have women teams. We now have teams that are female teams that are on different female competitions. We are seeing Kenyan female players being traded by various teams across the world. It's huge, it's big. We still have a long way to go, but we're getting there. And I'm just excited because we're finally at a place where we can speak about women football and say, listen, we're here. These games, we are playing the game, you recognize us. We need equally as much investment as men football is coming in. And we also need our fans to be able to notice us. I remember there was a discussion was saying that every Premier League team, and especially in Africa, should have a female team as well, playing on an equal level. That way we are able to promote more of the African women playing. And I agree to that. If your team is on a Premier League level, you should have a female team as well, equally playing in the Premier League side. This way we are able to bring in also women on the forefront to show that this is a game for us and we are here to stay.
And basically, we create a tactical combination between men and women's football, and make
Yes.
football
In
in
fact,
general is the winner.
when we had the situation where in Europe where some of the teams were actually wearing their jerseys and they also had the logo of the female teams. So also the fans could know that yes, as much as we're men, we also have the female teams as well. So that is how you bring in that combination. That's how you bring in the relationship. That's how you bring in the fans as well to know that listen, we also have this team, but we also have the female team, and as much as you fill these stadiums, you also need to fill these other stadiums as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Final word from you, Niran.
I want to say thank you to everyone that watched this. I want to thank you to Farid for coming around and Siomba. And yeah, so just if you have anybody who is interested in the game, being a coach, football, just follow, subscribe to our pages, and also you can share this, socials as well, so to increase the exposure. Thank you.
Well, it remains for me to also say thank you to everybody. Thank you for watching us. If you watched us, if you're going to watch us later on, still thank you. Thank you for our contributors, Niran, my able director. I can't thank you enough, as always. Farid, thank you very much. And Siambwa, we hope to see you again soon on the show. What we intend to do is continue to analyze and break down the tactical formation on what makes a team tick, how we can be better coaches, how we can be better scouts, how I can be better at talent identification. And we will not stop until we find and get the best out of our own Africans to go and coach at the highest level in Africa and beyond. Thank you so much, everyone. To join AFCON, don't forget, share it amongst your socials. Join at afcon.com. Very simple. And we will find a cadre, a category for you of membership anywhere you come to. Just join us. And we will raise the bar together, raise the platform together, and raise the standard of the game together. Thank you so much. And we will see you again very soon. Thanks, guys.
All right, great.
Bye.
Thank you.